Welcome to a Pleasure Program Quickie. My name is Holly.
I'm Victoria.
We are two licensed therapists specializing in sex therapy, here to share our knowledge and answer your questions about all things related to sex. Please see our disclaimer in our description box. And today we are talking about penis size, and we are responding to one of our viewer comments on one of our previous videos. His comment is as follows. I think just the general question of how much penises actually vary in size, since there seems to be so much emphasis on it. Also, there is a general sense in our society that masculinity is tied to penis size. The bigger your penis, the more masculine you are. With all of the small penis jokes and such, that seems acceptable for some reason. It can put big pressure on men just based on that one body part.
I feel for him because I feel like it is extremely, extremely common for the question to be asked, like, does size matter?
So why is penis size such a hot topic?
I think that there's a lot going on here between porn, between culture, social media. Actually, studies have found that 45% of men struggle and are dissatisfied with their penis size.
That's a big number.
Yeah, that's a huge number. Almost half of men, 1 in 2 men, are dissatisfied with their body part. Like, that's really sad. And on average, men tend to think that the average penis size is bigger than it actually is. On average, they think that it's about 6 inches, when in reality, it's really about 5 to 5.5. So it's a bit smaller, almost a full inch smaller than what they think. And 90% of men fall in between 4 to 6 inches.
Okay.
So you're very likely to fall in the average, right? And there's a very small percentage that carry a larger penis than the average.
You know, just like any other body insecurity, we tend to have this expectation that our body resembles the 1% of the population, whether it be penis size, breast size, body weight, like proportions, height, that all of those body types that we tend to idealize in our culture are, you know, they can be natural body types for some people, but it's a pretty small amount.
We have a whole video on pornography, right? And in pornography, like, we've talked about the shock and the awe of it, and that being so important to get viewers, right? And so I think in pornography, they tend to have individuals with larger size penises to get that viewership, right?
That exaggeration, right? A lot about the sex depicted in pornography is an exaggeration.
Yes.
And everything is bigger and wilder and hotter. And so kind of falling within those expectations, you have penis sizes that are extraordinarily large, right? Compared to the average penis.
Exactly. And so then people are comparing themselves to that, right? And then in pornography, as you've said before, right, women are penetrated and then immediately having orgasms and are like having the time of their life. And so people are connecting of like, oh, in order to please my partner, I need to be, I'm having a
very large penis.
Exactly. Exactly. Which porn is a performance. It's not reality.
Right. And
right.
So
That's
much
not
of it's a
how
fantasy.
people are pleasured.
Exactly.
Which we will get into. But another reason why this is such a common question is just like our culture, our society, social media. Like, there are popular artists such as like Ariana Grande making statements around big dick energy, right? And that's supposed to be this really, really positive thing of having this confidence without cockiness, right? They describe it as like the sexual equivalent of writing a check for $10,000 and just knowing it's going to clear the bank account. It's like supposed to be this really positive thing of having this big dick energy, implying that big dicks are better, right?
Right, or that you're going to inherently have that masculine energy, which our viewer kind of referenced, that penis size is somehow connected with your level of masculinity, masculine energy. So, and in that example with Ariana Grande, I'm assuming that's song lyrics. That
I think she made a tweet.
Oh, a tweet. It. Oh, okay. I'm not up to date with Twitter. That, you know, she's further encouraging that belief, right?
Absolutely. And right now, like, Let's look at Netflix, for example, right? People are going crazy over Love is Blind.
Oh,
It's
yes.
super popular show.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a section, there's a clip in there where all the girls get together and they're talking about penis size and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about how big they
Each of
are.
their men are,
Yeah.
and how, yeah, how things are going in the bedroom.
Implying that
Mm-hmm.
that is the important piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that gets perpetuated there.
Right.
Right? I think even like women in Love is Blind, for example, could fall into the trap of if I want to brag about my partner, if I want my partner to feel good, maybe I have to like talk about this and imply this, right?
Yeah, there could be another motive there. Like
Yeah,
it's giving their guy this really big compliment by talking about how big his penis is,
right.
knowing that people put a lot of emphasis on that.
And then we have all these jokes, like our commenter talked about,
Mm-hmm.
small dick jokes, right? Like implying that you're lesser than,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a
Little
bad thing.
little dick energy. Is that a phrase? I don't know.
I think it's starting to be actually.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
it's so. There's just too much emphasis on this, right? And all of these jokes and discussions and what we're seeing are perpetuating this belief that it really is important and it really matters and with
right.
sexual pleasure. And we're all a little brainwashed to have this belief because it's just kind of everywhere and it's always referenced.
So it's really, really ingrained, but we're implying it's not actually important. Size doesn't actually matter. So we need to talk about why. Why does it not matter what actually matters?
Mm-hmm. My favorite part, right? Let's bust this myth
Yes.
because it's not true. So if penis size doesn't matter, then what does matter?
So research has found that the majority of women are actually satisfied with their partner's size because to them, what actually matters is that their partner cares about their pleasure, is a good communicator, and that they know where the clitoris is. That's based on research. When women
Mm-hmm.
are asked about being sexually satisfied, they don't talk about penis size,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they're talking about body parts, they're talking about their own clitoris and
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to please and stimulate that, right?
Exactly. That it really is the pleasure center for a vulva owner, that they have clitoral stimulation, and that is for most women the primary source of pleasure. So
Yeah.
I think that where this myth might have come from, I have a theory. I don't know if this came
Mm.
up in any of your research, Victoria, but female pleasure has been something that has been neglected for a really long time and also misunderstood for a really long time throughout history. And so, in one of our previous videos, I believe it was on the sex education you wish you had, we talk about the clitoris and
Mm-hmm.
how the clitoris actually extends into the body. And so you
Yes.
see the head of the clitoris, but it sort of has these like arms,
Yeah.
so to speak, sort of extending into the body. And sometimes that extension of the clitoris can be felt within the vagina
Yes.
if there's enough pressure, right, being applied. So if historically the clitoris has been neglected and not paid attention to, really I think the primary source of any female pleasure would have been a large feeling of fullness in the vagina, and having a large penis would have provided that. And it would have been a little bit of clitoral stimulation that a female would have. So I think that maybe that is part of why this myth originated in the first place.
There is that. Absolutely. I do believe some women can achieve pleasure through stimulation of the cervix as well. So that might be part of it. Again, these things are not they're not
But
the
they're
most
not the most.
reliable
They're not.
way for
Exactly.
a vulva owner to achieve an orgasm. We want to focus on stimulating the clitoris, which is
Exactly. Number one.
easily accessible externally.
Yeah, it's the number one. If you're concerned about pleasuring your female partner, clitoral stimulation is what your primary focus should be, and that has nothing to do
Absolutely.
with the size of your penis.
So only about 4 to 18% of women achieve orgasm through penetration alone.
Right.
Right. If you don't know exactly how to stimulate your partner's clitoris so that it feels good, that's where the communication piece comes in, right?
Yes.
Bodies have moods, right? Some things feel good one day and some days they don't. And so that communication is huge.
It really is. We have a video we'll link below as well, all about communication around sex between partners that you can check out.
So I know we're talking a lot about vulva owners when it comes to pleasure, and there might be individuals who have a male partner and they're worried about their penis size. And I think the big thing there is, again, more communication, right? Being curious about your partner's pleasure. Acceptance of assistance from toys, I think, is important, whether or not you have a female or a male or non-binary partner, right? There's so many times that there are fears around being replaced by a toy when really toys are your allies, right? Especially if you do have someone with a clitoris, right? Like clitorises respond very, very well to vibrators, right? And I know that this replacement fear is huge, and there's this individual, Dr. Lori Mintz, who I think has an excellent metaphor for this, right? So if you were to have a great, great day with your partner out on a water raft, right? And your partner was talking about how great of a day you had, would you take it as like they were prioritizing the water raft, or would you would you take it as like they were prioritizing their time with you and the water raft was just a benefit to that?
Right. Yeah, right? You wouldn't be jealous and feel like the water raft is replacing you as a partner.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's a good analogy, a good way of thinking about it. I think if your focus is wanting to pleasure your partner, prioritizing that clitoral stimulation, whether that be manually, orally, with a toy, and being open and flexible to trying all kinds of clitoral stimulation, focusing on that stimulation first in a sexual encounter is also another way to provide the most pleasure possible if you have a female partner, a vulva owner, because often they're able to potentially have multiple orgasms or continue to sustain a high level of arousal. So you can provide some clitoral stimulation, enjoy some penetrative sex if you're up for that, and pun intended, and then, you know, continue to provide more clitoral stimulation.
I think people really care about enthusiasm, right? Like if you're a penis owner, I'm sure you can relate that you would much prefer someone to be enthusiastic about pleasuring you rather than like, ugh, this is a chore, right? So if you're someone who's enthusiastic, you're willing to learn, like you're willing to communicate, you're like eager to please a clitoris, like I don't care if you consider your penis to be small, I think that you are going to be accepted warmly with those kinds of ideas.
A fantastic lover if you we are giving you the recipe. We are giving it to you.
Right.
You're welcome. Free on YouTube.
Right. And I hope people take this and let this land, because this myth causes so much damage for so many individuals, right? Like our commenter talking about how it's connected to masculinity, right? Like think of the self-esteem struggles that half of men go through when they're dissatisfied with a huge part of themselves, right?
Yeah. If you are concerned about the size of your penis, you're going to enter a sexual encounter with so much anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And so much worry and fear of judgment and shame around your own body when there is nothing wrong with you. Your genitals are wonderful, whatever size they are, right? Like, and you are perfectly capable of providing plenty of pleasure to your partner.
Right. And feeling otherwise just adds this pressure, and this anxiety and this pressure honestly can contribute to erectile dysfunction, right? To even more issues, which would create even more insecurity.
Right.
Right. So it's so important to try to embrace what you have, right? And work with it.
Yeah.
You know, this myth, it can cause people to consider surgery sometimes, which is considered dangerous and considered to have little reward, right? Like this myth is extremely damaging.
Whether you feel like you have a smaller penis or you even struggle with some erectile dysfunction issues, there are treatments for that. We have a whole video on that. But there's so many workarounds, right? For all the reasons we've already explained here. I think that really just moving away from all this emphasis around the penis is actually going to improve everybody's sex life.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And I know we'll probably have a comment or two that's like, you're wrong. My last girlfriend said I was too small, whatever. Okay, there's going to be an outlier. There's going to be outliers, right? Like,
or maybe that girlfriend just wasn't very creative or open to trying new and different ways of experiencing pleasure. If that girlfriend's only, knowledge is around vaginal penetration and that's about it, then yeah, you're going to put a lot of emphasis on that potentially and miss out on so much more.
right, right. And at the end of the day, right, if someone is not happy with you because of something that you cannot control, like your penis size, like they're not a good fit for you. And it's okay. And it's okay to move on and find someone who is a good fit that you guys can work together and focus on what's actually important.
Exactly. If your partner is not wildly infatuated with your genitals as they are, they can move right along.
Absolutely. I think we should end on that note.
Okay.